Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Wise Guys on a Monday night. Dave McCann, Blaine Fowler. Wise Guys is presented by Brady Plus and distributed by the Deseret News. We have so much to talk about. I wish we started an hour ago, but we're starting right now.
That's right.
And
we're in season, so there's always something to talk about.
We're coming out of the gate with the guns a-blazing.
That's right. And should we talk about these shirts right off the bat?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I'm pretty pumped that we got these today.
So these shirts came up to us from the tailgate down in Dallas before the SMU game. Remember last week we had Taggart Barron on, and he was the alumni director down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They had a big tailgate. They sold it out. They raised their service project was huge. They raised a bunch of money for scholarships. They were on TV down there in the pregame at their tailgates with the school president and all that stuff. And then they had these shirts. And they said, remember last week? Yeah. Hey, if I send you some shirts, you guys want to wear them?
We said, yeah, we're always up for gear. So, and it's fun because now it is BYU Texas. And I love it because it kind of sends a message that BYU, in a way, did a little bit of a stadium takeover there. I was talking to the guys that were down there, and they were saying clearly the crowd for BYU was as loud as the home crowd, and there were times when they were drowning out the home crowd, which is really cool. So anyhow, we're representing the BYU folks, not just the ones that live in Texas, but the ones that traveled to Texas and supported the Cougs last week with these shirts today, and it's pretty cool. We'll wear these proudly.
So there's a few more shirts left, and we put the link in the chat of how you can buy one. And the money raised from the shirts goes to pay scholarships for Texas kids coming to BYU.
Yeah, it's great. So we wanted to talk about that right off the bat because you're wondering why Dave and I are wearing matching unis tonight.
We're sporting
so we're doing it. Hey, make sure that you go to our website and subscribe to our free email. That's at wiseguys.com, ysguys.com. Also, watch all of our past content, including every interview we've done for the last 2.5 years. So many good guests. And we'd love it if you hit the subscribe button on your YouTube channel as well. All those things are good. It keeps the program alive and going long beyond the 2.5 years that we've been here. So all those things we're asking you to do are completely free. So go and do that.
So please do it. So Wise Guys is thrilled to have Brady Plus as our title sponsor. Brady Plus, formerly Brady Industries, which has been a sponsor of BYU TV Sports for a long, long time, and BYU Sports for that matter. Brady Plus provides cleaning, food service, and packaging equipment, dispensers, and service and repairs with over 150 distribution facilities across the country. They employ over 6,000 people. They're huge. The president is a BYU alum, our friend Travis Brady, and he's all in on the Wise Guys.
He sure is.
We love it.
So grateful to Travis. We're grateful to the Deseret News, our new distribution partner, publishing since 1850. It's pretty cool that we're in an agreement with them. They're distributing Wise Guys. With your help, Wise Guys is reaching more BYU fans around the world than ever before. So we're pleased to have a distribution agreement with Deseret News.
How about on the live stream, Bullseye coming in hot? Now that the game's over and my chest pain is gone, I'm glad to be 2-0. Aren't we all? Dallas is in. Good to have you guys. You had the team. Now we've got you on the Wise Guys tonight. Vegas is in. A bunch of cities in Utah.
Yep.
Colorado's there. Hey, Colorado. And it's great to have you with us tonight.
Yeah, it's a fun time. And hey, they didn't play perfect, but that defense was something special, and anytime you get a road win against a Power 4 team, and I saw an interesting stat that I didn't realize until today when I read it this morning, and that is only 2 teams in the country this season through 2 games, and for some teams through 3 games, have not given up a touchdown to a Power 4 team. BYU and Georgia. So it's not that easy to not have a Power 4 team score at least 1 touchdown in a game is what I'm saying.
No, it was great.
When there's only 2 in the whole country. Now, a lot of Power 4 teams are playing FCS and G5 schools, but it's still something special when it's you in Georgia defensively. It's pretty cool.
Shout out to Beaumont, Texas in the house. Hey, look at Evan from Laramie, Wyoming, taking in the Wise Guys ahead of the team coming in.
Yeah, Evan, how are you going to be there for the game?
I hope so.
Let us know what your situation is and if you're going to be safe. We need to know that you're going to be safe
right.
there.
If folks know right now that the Wise Guys is going on in your house in Laramie, there might be some activity. So
yeah, be a little careful. Keep it on the down low.
We got an awesome show tonight. Kalani Sitake, we're going to hear from him about BYU's 2-0 start. Wasn't perfect, but 2-0 in learning is better than 1-1 in learning. And if you're not quite sure, call up Notre Dame.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hey, if you're not quite sure, call up Wyoming.
Yeah, exactly.
Who had no idea that they, against an FB or FCS opponent last week in Idaho, that they wouldn't be able to take care of business. So, yeah, you talk to a number of teams. There are a lot of upsets this last week as you're watching college football.
It's so exciting.
I think maybe NIL there's a little more parity than there has been because of NIL. Because if you're a backup and you're not getting taken care of, and somebody maybe at a smaller school says, but we have some NIL money, so come over here and have a chance to start. I think some of the depth, unless you're the elite program, some of the depth of those mid-level programs is shrinking down and is moving around the country. So
yeah, and look, hey, Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame straight up.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything lucky about it.
No fluke, no crazy plays. They just beat them.
Former Cougar defensive back Derwin Gray is going to join us here in just a bit. We'll talk about that dynamic BYU defense on display at SMU, and Dewey was an outstanding defender.
Oh,
I thought
he was.
He's perfect to have on a night like
it's
tonight.
Great. We're going to talk about that. How about the fact that BYU's offense turned it over 3 times, twice in their own territory, and the BYU defense didn't give it up a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. So Jennifer Wise, BYU Alumni Director in Denver, overseeing Saturday's Wyoming game, is going to join us in a little bit.
And BYU basketball adds another big man from Europe.
6'10".
And I saw some earlier reports where, well, yeah, he's probably going to start. It's like, what?
Yeah.
The group they've got, and then they add a 6'10" guy who just might go to the 4. Who knows?
Yeah,
but we're going to talk about that
tonight. He's a 6'10" guy that can shoot it, too. Like, he can... Like, he's a 6'10" guy from Europe. And everybody goes, oh, he's a Euro. I'll take a lot of Euros.
Yeah.
Right? He's a Euro type of player. That means he grew up, even though he was tall, learning how to shoot and handle the basketball and doing all that. I'll take that all day long.
How many times have we fielded questions about where are all the Euros?
Yeah.
And
why
now,
isn't BYU tapping into
they
them
are.
like Gonzaga and St. Mary's?
Yeah.
Well, they are.
They're in now.
I guess St. Mary's is more of a let's go to New Zealand and Australia type of a program, though.
Yeah.
But Gonzaga has really done a nice job of mining some of the top Eastern European talent, and now BYU's doing a great job of that.
So hang with us tonight. We're going to have some basketball news. Let's kick off with scheduling news, which was released today. Kansas State and BYU, they're playing on September 21st here in Provo. That game is going to start at 8:30 Mountain Time on ESPN. BYU Sports Nation Game Day will start at 6:30 Mountain Time on BYU TV and ESPN+. Now, that's a super late one.
Yeah.
But what are BYU's chances at any time of the day, if you could pick, that would help them win that game? It's got to be as late as you can possibly do it at LaVell Edwards Stadium. And so 8:30, yeah, that's late. That's, what is that, 9:30?
9:30 Kansas
time. That's going to be a late one, but special things happen.
BYU is really good at night in LaVell Edwards Stadium. So the later, the better in my mind. And you know what? On a Saturday, hey, we all we want to go to like kids games and do all that stuff. Now we get to do all of that Saturday. And then we all show up. Maybe we take a little nap.
Maybe a nap.
And we show up and we're ready to go. And we know that the Rock always shows up for those late games.
You bet.
So
Bob's in from Rexburg, Idaho. Hey, Bob. Let's see. Harriman. John's in from Harriman. Linda is in.
And Linda went down to Dallas.
Dallas.
Saying, yeah.
Nice job, Linda. Let's talk about that game. By the way, on our live stream, let us know how you felt about it, how you feel about it while we talk about it. BYU beats SMU 18-15. They're 2-0 on the season. They snap a 5-game road losing streak, all 5 games in the Big 12 last year. And the defense saved the day.
Yeah.
The defense was fantastic from start to finish. In fact, in the first possession for SMU, a sack.
Yeah.
Second possession for SMU, a sack. So their first 2 possessions end on 4th and 19, and they have to punt, and that kind of set the tone for the night.
Yeah, that defensive front, a couple weeks in a row now, you can just see how much more aggression they play with. And, Jay Hill's calling blitzes and letting them loose. One thing that I loved in that game is I went back and looked at things, is that these young guys that we've been talking about, and you think about this, the back 7, right? The backers and the safeties and corners, it's a really young group, right? Especially in the 2 deep, it's a really young group. They have so much confidence in some of those young guys. Like Tommy Prassis was playing down the stretch at times in the fourth quarter. Raider DeMooney was on the field in crunch time in the fourth quarter. They put Johnny in, that we've talked about, at nickel on the last drive of the game because he's one of the best lockdown guys, a freshman. And that's impressive. And I was asking afterwards, I'm like, were the guys just tired? And they go, no. These guys, they're phenomenal athletes. And if we're just going to go man and play one-on-one, we trust that these guys can go play man-on-man right now. And they're going to get better. in the zones and with the different calls. But when it came time to go, listen, we just need to athletically just go match up with these dudes, they played a bunch of youngins. That's exciting for the future of this defense.
When you've got lockdown guys back there, it's amazing how creative the linebackers can be. And that front group is getting a nice push. They were in the backfield. It felt like a whole lot. Even when they switched quarterbacks and they had the little more mobile guy in there, they were still chasing him around. Let's hear from Kalani Sitake. He addressed the media earlier today. Let's get his initial thoughts, and then we'll get your thoughts here on Wise Guys tonight. Coach Sitake.
All right. Well, new week, and excited. We're 2-0, and after watching the film, really proud of the team. There's a lot of, like I said after the game, still a lot of room for improvement. Look forward to getting to it today. I think had some guys get banged up in the game. That happens. So we'll have to deal with some of the adjustments. We still have to get some other guys evaluated. But as of now, looks like it's doubtful for L.J. Martin and Hinckley Ropati. So we have to still evaluate it some more, but that's the way it's looking. The good news is no one's out for the year, which is good, but might take some time to get some of those guys back, and hopefully we can see what happens in the next 24 hours if it's going to be available for this week or not. But proud of the team. Glad we got the win, but still a lot of room for improvement. A lot of things that we can fix, and looking forward to getting that done. Going on the road again. Looking forward to this matchup with Wyoming. I think looking at the program, I mean, I think they're number 3 on the list of the teams that we've played the most. Utah being number 1, Utah State being number 2, and then Wyoming being number 3. So as a former player and fan, I was used to seeing Wyoming on the schedule, on BYU schedule. So it's kind of a little bit flashback to our times when I was a player and a fan to go out there and play that game in Laramie. I know that they have a passionate fan base. It's actually why college football is so good, is that the fans make it real, and I know they love their team and they have a lot of pride in their team, and I know they're looking forward to this game just like we are. Really well coached team. Look at Coach Jay Savell. He's a defensive minded coach. Was able to replace Craig Bull, who's an amazing coach, and you look at Jay's, you look at his the people that he's been mentored by are amazing head coaches. So he's been able to work with some great ones, Lou Holtz, Jerry Kill, and Craig Bull, just to name a few. And then I have all kinds of respect for Craig Bull and what he does as a coach. I consider him a really good friend, and I know that he's put a lot of work in that program, and he's done actually. I don't know a lot of people that go from retiring from coaching football to go to something even more bigger of a.
Head coach Kalani Sitake, and we're going to jump into Wyoming here in just a little bit. That was from the media availability earlier this afternoon. Let's get right to your keys to the game
from the last game. Yeah.
And number 1 was to win the turnover battle,
which it didn't look like that was going to happen, but the defense did such a good job. The offense turned the ball over too much, 3 turnovers. At first glance, we were really kind of upset with Jake, saying he threw made 2 terrible decisions, and then we went back and watched that one interception and went, oh, okay, well, once in a while, it's not on the quarterback. That interception he threw on the screenplay in the middle, what was that guy, a jack in the box? Like, what in the world happened? Like, the defensive lineman was face down on the field.
Then he got up.
The back was going behind him as the ball was being released. Literally, the guy looked like a Gumby and jumped up right in front of the ball. And you're like, how could you throw that ball? The ball was almost out of his hand when that guy was on the ground. That was a phenomenal play. I'm not going to get on him on that one. Where he tried to throw the ball away, that ball should have been launched over the corner route's head way earlier and just come back and play on the next down. And then a fumble where he got hit. So 3 turnovers, that's hard to overcome. The only way you overcome it is if your defense goes out and forces 3 turnovers, which they did, and that's what
so that evened the score.
That evened it out.
3-3.
And so even if they didn't win the turnover battle, but even was good enough in this one.
Anytime Timothy jumps on from Perth, Australia, we give you a shout out.
We got a shout out to Perth.
Love to be on another continent tonight. Thank you, Timothy, for joining the Wise Guys. Your other key was establish the run game early.
First drive, they looked great. L.J. Martin.
Yeah.
It looked like they were going to establish it, and then he goes out, and then there was no run game to speak of the rest of the game, except for I felt when BYU moved the ball is when they used Jake Retzlaff in the run game. When they kind of turned him loose and they ran some zone read stuff where he kept the football and that backside was going down hard on the heel line and tackling the backs from behind. He runs a couple of plays, he gets yardage. Next thing you know, you hand it off to Nawahini, and they stay home because they're worried that Jake's going to keep it, and he runs almost untouched into the end zone. So those are some things that I think that you can learn from. Where, hey, if Jake's there and you've got Gary as the backup and he's capable, I think you can go ahead and run the quarterback. And if you're not going to have L.J. Martin and you're not going to have Hinckley Ropati, and it sounded like that from Kalani's press conference
today. And he
today,
never names names, so
they're not out playing. They're not playing. He doesn't ever say that. He didn't even say it's a game time decision. so you've got, and hey, I like the way that Heaney looked, right?
Yeah.
But I think you have to have the quarterback as part of the run game. And so did they establish the run early? Like you could say they did in the first drive, and then they went back to it late with the quarterback, but the whole middle,
no,
they did not do a good job. I'm not giving them a check on that one.
No, don't give them a check. The third one, limit big plays, especially in the SMU running game. I thought that mission accomplished on that
they
one.
did. They did a great job. That's hard to find fault in anything they did defensively. They give up a few inside throws, which against a P4 team you do, right? That's the soft spot in the defense. I thought that Jay made the right calls at the right time. I thought they were really stout and they forced turnovers. And I thought that front, and they got more experience on the front. That's the most experienced part of this defense with Mengelson and Nelson and Batty and Banya. And that depth is young, but those veteran guys up front, they're causing havoc, bringing 4.
Yeah, Mangelson's been fantastic.
Oh, he's been so good. He's a star. Blake Mengelson is. We said he would be better. I underestimated how much impact he was going to have in these first 2 games. He's really been a star on that D-line.
And Tyler Batty delivered the hit of the game. We're going to focus on after further review tomorrow night. Do not miss after further review tomorrow.
Do you remember, was it a punt return that he was on to a cover
knocked
team?
the ball out last year.
That was similar to this.
Yeah, this one was.
I don't know how this quarterback got back up and played.
He did. He was tough.
Yeah, he was tough.
That's on AFR tomorrow. All right.
So we're giving him a check. We're giving him 2 of 3.
2 of 3.
2 of 3.
And a 2-0 start.
Yep.
So here's what we liked. And folks, think about what you liked, and you can share it with us on the stream or just among yourselves wherever you are. We liked the defensive pressure, those 2 sacks in the first 2 possessions. SMU came in averaging 53.9 points over their 9-game home winning streak, and they didn't score a touchdown. That's amazing. So the fans showed up going, we score 53 points all the time. In fact, we've done it for the last 2 seasons, and BYU shows up, and they don't even score a touchdown.
Right.
That speaks volumes to Jay Hill's second year running the defense and to the Cougars. And it also revealed that, hey, these aren't last year's Mustangs, even though the quarterback's back and a whole bunch of guys are back. But BYU's defense just broke them in half and forced 5 field goals.
They displayed great team speed, because what SMU does is they just outspeed people. You know, I mean, they don't manhandle people. They spread you out and they gash you with speed. And BYU did a great job of just matching their speed, which says something. BYU's come a long way in that area. That's not an issue for them anymore against anybody. And then BYU is more physical. So if SMU can't outspeed BYU, you expect them to be more physical. If you got both of those things going and a great scheme, that's the recipe for being really good. And SMU is not used to being shut down. Not at home.
They were held without a touchdown against a P4 opponent for the first time since 2016. That was Kalani's first year. That's 9 seasons.
Yeah, that's
big time.
And they have a bunch of starters back on offense. This team was expected. They scored 59 the week before. Mind you, I know it's Houston Christian, but they scored 59.
Yeah, that's what their fans were used to seeing.
Yeah,
and Vegas had them an 11-point favorite.
Yeah, we can't. We can talk about the offense and the struggles that they had and how they need to get better, But we really need to celebrate how good the defense was and how they kind of manhandled this SMU team that's supposed to be great on offense. It was really impressive.
Georgia in the house. Good to have you on the Wise Guys. Another thing we like, the newcomers making a difference. Mata'ava Ta'ase, Enoch Nawahine, Mark Collins, all came up with big plays. Braden Kimes tackle at the 3-yard line.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, Kime, as I wrote about in the Deseret News, called them the Improbables, with a kind of a spoof off the Incredibles. There were some improbable plays. For Kime at the tackle spot, his biggest play was making a tackle at the 3-yard line. He played defensive line for Alta High, and he's huge. But when the SMU guy picked it off on the screen, he's heading to the end zone. But he's got to meet Kime down there at the 3-4 yard line. Kime drops him. 2 plays later, SMU fumbles the ball. How big of a tackle was that?
If he doesn't make the tackle and they score, like, it allowed the defense to make another big play and keep them out of the end zone. How many times? I don't even know what the percentage is. What do you think the percentage is when you get a pick and you return it all the way down to the opponent's 3 that you go scoreless? That almost never happens in college football.
No, and it was just they were these improbable moments. The improbability of Nawahine, who wasn't even on the depth chart.
Right.
You go to 4, and then you don't even see his name yet. Ta'ase is a tight end. He's got 2 touchdowns in 2 games, but Keanu Hill's the tight end, or Ethan Erickson's the tight end.
Ta'ase played a lot last year, but he was a blocking guy.
Yeah.
Who knew he had the skill to lay out and catch one and knock the wind out of himself?
Ta'ase, where did he come from?
This guy? But he's a big, strong, physical dude that they've used for blocking. Last year, he was an integral part of it, but not a playmaker.
And Mark Collins?
I shouldn't say that. Their guy's inside making plays, making great blocks, which he did.
But they're not on the highlight reel.
But he's not out there on the highlight reel making diving catches.
He bobbled catch, and he pulls it in.
It's awesome. And that was a great article he wrote. I'm going to add to that. I talked about Tommy Prastis and Raider DeMooney. Remember, Raider DeMooney in spring ball, this defensive staff was going, this is a big-time Big 12 guy. This is a guy that if he can stay healthy, he's a first-team All-Big 12 player. Like, he's one of the most athletic guys on the defense. He's physical. He's got great instincts, but he just hasn't been healthy. And he missed a bunch of fall camp. He's just got cleared 2 weeks ago, and he was in that game down the stretch. He played a lot in that game and was really good. That's a bright spot. I mentioned Jonathan Cabea at nickel, played in crunch time. Last drive of the game, he's out there. And then guys like Evan Johnson, he's just a sophomore. People are like, who's gonna play corner?
That's Dion's number 21. He's out there.
Evan Johnson's out there playing all game long and playing great. So it's young guys making plays. It's guys that nobody really knew about making plays on both sides of the ball. And that's something you can grow and get better with, is that because the depth is definitely better this year.
All right, here's what we didn't like, I was in 2 wards on Sunday and family dinner and the neighborhood, and so here's the list. Here's what people are worked up about. Understandably so. 3 turnovers, no one likes that. Today in Kalani's news conference, at one point he said, "Take care of the stinking football," was a direct quote. And it applies not just to Jake, to everyone. Ball security, no matter who's got it, is so key, especially on the road. And
it's the most important, and you have it as 1 on our list, right?
Yeah.
For a reason. And we're going to talk about 2 and 3. 3 is big too, because I think that they can fix that. But 3 doesn't matter as much as if we do 1. There's lots of teams, and we'll get to 3 and then come back to that. So let's go down the list. But it's the cardinal sin in football. You can't win if you can't take care of the ball.
Right.
Especially if you turn it over and give the other team short fields. No matter how good you are, you turn the ball over, it's the great equalizer in football. You get beat by lesser teams, let alone teams that are better than you. You have no chance against teams that are equal or better. They have to figure out how to take care of the ball. Number 2 is injuries. We're all disappointed in the injuries, especially when you lose your 1 and your 2 at running back.
And you were thin coming in.
Yeah, and we're thinking, man, maybe with LJ and Hinckley, there's a chance that they can establish a run game and take some pressure. So now you're going to have to lean on some Miles Davis, who had a really nice run on that toss late in the game. Yeah. And he's a different skill set. He can get to the edge and turn the corner, so you need to call some different plays that are designed for him. Nawahine can run kind of the same things that LJ and Hinckley ran. He's just younger in the offense and not as much experience. I think skill set wise, he's not as strong as LJ, but he's got some quickness and shape to him. So who knows? But they're going to have to figure out what his skill set is and go, okay, these are the 2 guys right now So what are we going to call differently to take care of advantage of what they do? I'll tell you where I like Noah Heaney and where I like Miles Davis. Get him involved in the option pass game. Get him out one-on-one on linebackers and throw the ball to him. And that's an extension of your run game, those little easy, quick throws to running backs. But they're going to have to change what they do a little bit. Not the fundamental offense, but the emphasis on what they're doing has to be changed to accommodate this different group of running backs.
Phil is in from Cedar Park, Texas. Good to have you on the Wise Guys live stream. He'll be at the Baylor game with the family. That'll be a fun night at the end of the month. Lack of creativity on offense, we didn't like that. 9 3-and-outs, 2 for 13 on third down, a far cry from Southern Illinois.
I would say that 2 of 13 is terrible production on first and second down.
Yeah.
Like their average distance is almost 8 yards on third down. You don't convert 3rd and 8s.
There was a play on 3rd and 8 where they ran the ball up the middle, and I just thought, why don't we just send the punt team in?
Just punt on third then.
Why would you do that?
And so they have got to get more creative. But my point on 3, if you don't turn the ball over like on 1, Utah's had some really good teams in recent years where they just kind of ran the ball and kept it close to the vest and won a bunch of games because they were top 10 in the nation in turnover margin. So you don't turn it over and you force turnovers, you take care of a lot of stuff. You don't have to be great on offense. You can be average on offense and you can win a lot of games, but you can't be average on offense and also turn the ball over.
No.
So number 1, stop turning, as Kalani says, stop turning the freaking ball over, right?
Come on.
And I think you have got to be a little more aggressive on first down and really more aggressive on second down if you're going to be some more explosive plays on second down. You can't – teams have seen this trend in the last couple of years where BYU on 2nd and 10, 2nd and 9, they run the ball more than 90% of the time. It's so – and when you look at analytics nationally, you go, well, teams around the country – like you could look at SMU's analytics – and you could say, what does SMU do on 2nd and 10? I mean, on 2nd and 10. And the analytics would tell you, well, they go with their lighter package and they play off the ball more and they don't blitz on 2nd and 10 because they predominantly play pass. Not against BYU, they don't. If I'm playing BYU, I load it up and blitz on 2nd and long every single time and take my chances playing cover 0 and man on the back end because they're going to run the ball. And so they've got to self-scout and look at their tendencies, and they've got to be – what really helps is when you get production on first down. You know what, Georgia and Alabama, they mix it up on first down. They quick throw or they run it.
Saw a lot of creativity on Saturday.
They quick throw or they run it, right? Yeah. But when they run it on first down, they get 4.5 yards or 5 yards. 2nd and 5, defense is at a huge disadvantage, right? At 2nd and 5, you can't really dial up anything because you have no idea what the offense is going to do, and you're in a great position. BYU has got to figure out how to be more productive on first down, and then they've got to be more productive on 2nd and long.
Ole Olson in from Charlotte, North Carolina on the live stream tonight. Wise Guys spanning the globe. Dewey Gray is going to join us in just a sec. Before we bring
Georgia,
him in.
Georgia in the house. Have we had Georgia in the house before?
I don't know, but they're always welcome.
Yeah, we love Georgia
Appreciate
in the
that.
house.
Okay, before we bring Dewey in, let me ask you a question that I got from everybody, and it's all understandable, and I want to get your take on it, and I know everyone out there has an opinion on it. We're going to ask Dewey his opinion on it. But what is your response when you hear fans wonder aloud why Kalani didn't put Gary Bohannon in the game after Jake's 3rd turnover? When the emphasis is take care of the ball, that's been his mantra for some time. So there's the 3rd turnover, and all of them were just kind of, and there's kind of this look of fear on bewilderment on Jake's face from the TV angles. And you have Gary Bohannon there, and if the race was that close and you're in this situation where you can't lose this game, you already know now SMU is not better than you. So it's like you got to do everything to win this game. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, they did win it, but I got a lot of questions about it. Why didn't they put Gary in after the 3rd turnover? What do you think?
They must not believe that Gary's as good as you all think he is or I think he is. Otherwise, you would. It must not be as close as we all think because 7 days left.
That's what that says to me.
It's not as close.
No.
And they're looking at it and they're going, if it's not as close as we all think, right? And there really was separation in the last 7 to 10 days, which is obviously what they think, and they're not going to come out and tell us that, right? But they obviously feel that way. And then here's the other thing: if it wasn't that close, and you got a guy that's got 2 years left or another one and done, you go, well, you know what? It's not that close, and we need this guy to figure this out because we need him to be here this year and next year.
Yeah.
And so I mean, maybe if he turns it over once more, you go, okay, that's it, I'm done.
Right.
But like we said, like you and I and Austin and everybody in the green room were like, what in the world on that screen? I don't know if looking up from up top, A-Red went, oh my gosh, that was a crazy play. That's not on him. Anybody would have thrown it.
Yeah.
And so I don't. It's obviously not as close as we all think it is, and they're looking at what are we going to do in the long term, and they weren't behind in the game. Defense was playing lights out. It's like we got to ride this guy, and it's just like, hey, when you put Ty Detmer in and he threw 6 picks, did you take him out? Steve Young threw 6 picks against Georgia. We didn't take him out.
Yeah, but remember, Ty went in because Covey got hurt.
Right.
And they didn't have an option.
Steve was our starter.
But Steve was the starter. But then there are times, too, I go back to the Citrus Bowl in 1985. You're a healthy guy on the sideline. Robbie's banged up.
I should have
He's
gone
not
in.
right. You should have been in.
But
we didn't do everything to win the game.
Yeah, there were when we played UCLA, he wasn't feeling great. It's like, should I have been in there?
Yeah.
You know?
And you know what? A coordinator who's going to put it all out there to win is going to do that. And coordinators that are hesitant are just going to stick it out. And BYU was fortunate to win that game the other night. As dominant as the defense was, they were still one play from getting lucky.
It's funny because SMU's fans today are going, maybe this 2 quarterback thing's not a good thing.
Right, yeah.
Because they just lost.
It's
right?
not how you want it.
Lost.
It's not how you want it. But what you prefer is your starter takes care of the ball.
Right, he's got to take care of the ball. And I think that if he doesn't improve that as the season progresses, it's going to be like, you know what I mean? Then you got to go, okay, we thought he was better, and he took care of the ball. Here's the hard thing. You don't hit quarterbacks in spring ball or in practice in the fall. So he didn't throw any picks in all of spring ball. And then he took care of the ball in fall camp, but he wasn't getting smacked around by live fire, right? So do you say to yourself, okay, well, that was a good lesson learned. Now this is the first time he's actually been hit since last fall. And now we have teaching, but if he continues to do this, what are we going to do? You remember John Beck was the starter as a sophomore? Yeah. And you and I would sit there and I would go, I'm not sure this kid can play.
I know.
Because every time he got hit, the ball was on the ground. And I was like, so they worked with him. They knew that his upside, that he had a couple more years. They worked with him. As a senior, dude never turned the ball over.
No.
He was one of the best. Like, we forget about how good he was as a senior. He's right up there with anybody we've ever had here as a senior.
I think fans saw a flashback of last year.
And that made everybody
really fast.
What's that called when you flash back and then it's like post-traumatic stress syndrome.
It all came back.
It all came back.
Hey, Kansas State's coming up.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? I feel like the Wyoming game Saturday is critical for him.
If against Wyoming, if he goes out and makes really bad decisions and turns the ball over, you got to really start to go, okay, what are we doing here? But I honestly, we all are thinking it's closer than,
and then maybe it wasn't,
and it maybe wasn't as close in the last 7 to 10 days of practice. And they are looking at, can this be our guy for the next 2 years? And if it's going to be our guy, because once you take him out, he's done. Like, if you replace him because he's turned it over and Gary, can you put him back?
I don't know. Ideally, you don't want to because you just want to have someone take care of the ball.
As critical as Austin Collie is, which he always is, he sat there with us and says, no, you can't take him out.
Yeah, well, he had Peyton Manning and Tom Brady.
Well, because once you take him out, then that's kind of done.
Yeah.
And so Austin was, no, we got to let this thing run its course here for a week or two. Right? Is what Austin's opinion was.
Hey, our first guest tonight knows all about playing tough defense. He was a star in BYU secondary between 1989 and 1992, in addition to his 126 solo tackles and 14 career interceptions, which is tied for 4th all-time at BYU. He was drafted in the 4th round by the Colts, played 6 seasons in the NFL. He and his wife, Vicky, are the co-founders of the Transformation Church in South Carolina. It's a pleasure to welcome our friend Dr. Derwin Gray back to the Wise Guys. What's up, Doc? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you guys, too. Y'all are looking good. You representing Texas, because you guys know I'm a Texas boy
that's right.
from San Antonio, so... Yeah, it's always good to be with you guys. Hey, it's always good to hear familiar voices.
When people introduce you as doctor, do you feel like you should have performed some kind of surgery or you should tell them, yes, I'm heading to the hospital?
When I think of my academic journey, to be called doctor, coming from a kid that got a 16 on his ACT to get into BYU, just barely, to have a doctor, this is a testimony of God's grace. So I actually talk about it a lot because I want people to know it's not where you start, but it's where you can go. Because oftentimes we think our environment can limit us.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, Dewey, that test taking is a skill that you learn. Especially, I feel like the ACT, that's not a test of is this person smart or not. That's not like an IQ test or can this person learn test. It's almost like up to this point, have you had great teachers? Have you been trained to take tests? Have you done all of that? And you mentioned you get a 16. And it's like, obviously, Dewey's not done. Right?
Right.
But he comes to BYU. He gets people around him that teach him learning methods. He learns how to learn. He's always smarter than heck. Always. Right? And now he has a doctorate degree.
And we're calling him doctor.
And people have to remember that sometimes these tests, these standardized tests aren't the greatest way. Aren't the greatest way to measure who a person is.
Hey, what'd you think of that defense on Friday night?
You know, I was just so happy because number one, you could tell that Kalani and his staff really worked hard to upgrade the roster. Our guys look like Power 4 players. Our defensive line looked like a Power 4 defensive line. Jack Kelly was running like an SEC linebacker. Glacier, I think his name, number 16, the guy that used to be a receiver. If he stays healthy, he could be a second-round draft pick or higher. Our secondary looked well. What I liked was the defense, number one, was very, very physical. They came with some serious intellectual brutality. Loved it. Secondly, they were disciplined. I didn't see many blown coverages. I didn't see many blown assignments. Thirdly, they were fast. They were running. And then there was a lot of relentless effort, incredible relentless effort on defense. So what that tells me is that the guys are bought in. It tells me that they're being very well coached on the defensive side of the ball. And it tells me that they're taking pride in what they're doing. It was one of the best defensive performances I've seen from a BYU team in a long time. And SMU is going to score a lot of points this season.
Hey, I'm just impressed.
I agree with it.
We've never had the phrase intellectual brutality.
Yeah, I love intellectual brutality.
That just took us to a new place.
I welcome intellectual brutality. Dude, there was a play that just did to me. I was watching yesterday. There was a clip that somebody posted. Crew Wakely came, and he came a little too wide, and so he got kind of bumped into the gap where Taggart was supposed to be. So both of them were in the same gap, and the running back cut it up and got maybe a 14-yard gain. But on the play, he got bounced around behind, missed the tackle, got up off the ground, chased the guy down from behind, and made the tackle 12 yards down the field. And I thought to myself, whoa, that's like a crazy effort. Like you don't see that very often. So my son Gavin was at home, and I said, Gavin, this play by Crew Wakely, like I know you saw this play because you just graded all the film. And he goes, yeah, he went too wide. And so I said, come look at this play, Gavin. So Gavin looks at the play, and he goes, you know what? I'm changing his grade on that play. And I go, can you just change his grade? He goes, yeah, he's getting a minus for his assignment. But we have a little leeway. When somebody like is heroic with their effort, I can overrule it. He goes, I'm thinking about this. I'm giving him a plus on that play. And he gave him a plus on a play where he didn't go where he was supposed to because his effort was so good. And I saw a bunch of that. Did you see a lot of that as well?
I did. And I'm so glad that someone like yourself who has, I want to say this very kindly, who has football actual knowledge, you see the game differently. People may have seen a missed assignment, a 14-yard gain, but what you want to build a team with is guys who have heroic effort. And so for the listener, you got to go to the why. Why did Crew Wakely have that kind of effort. And at the end of the day, it comes down to two words. He cares. It's when you care about what you do, you have fanatical, relentless effort. And to me, that's bigger than wins and losses because I'm old school. I believe the effort you give on the field is the effort you're going to give in life. And football, yes, at BYU, I almost won 40 games in 4 years. I got 4 conference championship rings. But, man, there are things that I learned to transcend the field. And so when I watch a game, win or lose, when I see effort like that, that to me is the victory. Heroic, relentless effort. It's like a symphony. It's beautiful.
Dewey, from a safety's perspective, where you played all those years, when you see Jacob Robinson and Mark Collins on the corners making the plays that they are and the backups behind them doing that as well, when that's going on from the corner spot, what does that allow you to do as the safety to be creative back there and become a playmaker, a difference maker?
Yeah, you know, before I get to the corners, the corners live a symbiotic relationship with the defensive linemen. And so even when Collins made that incredible interception, number 94 gave a heroic effort to put pressure on the quarterback. So that's one. Two, Jacob Robinson is special. That young man plays cornerback the way it's designed to be played. And if he ends up with about 4 or 5 more interceptions, you're going to have to put him in the top 5 of corners all time at BYU because he's got 9 interceptions now. That is impressive in this day and age. He's a ball hawk. His technique is great. His effort is great. Collins, the interception he made, man, I looked at that and I said, man, does that kid play for Georgia? Like, does BYU have a kid with athleticism like that? I mean, that was stunning. I mean, he picked that thing and then just stunned it with it. Now, from a safety's perspective, athletically, cornerback is much harder. Safety is a lot more cerebral, but in today's game, you have to be athletic as well. And so when you've got corners that are locking it down, you've got a defensive line that is chasing a quarterback, you got backers that are flying around as a safety, that frees you up to take more calculated risk and to make plays. And so for me, my forte was intercepting the ball. So I had 283 tackles, 14 picks, 25 PBUs, 4 forced fumbles, and 2 touchdowns. And so I wanted to play offense on defense. I want to take the ball, and as a tackler, I wanted to be a secure tackler and then go for the strip. Always think turnover. In today's game, turnovers.
This mentality of this team, as you mentioned, you've got to be smart to play safety, but Jay Hill always also requires those safeties, both the free and the strong, to be physical. And I know you love that because they're very much a part of the run game. Depending on what front they're playing, sometimes that strong safety has to be the edge player or be the force guy. Yep. The free safety in this defense is the alley runner a lot, where they funnel things back to the middle and the middle backer plays inside out and that safety runs downhill and has to hit. After 2 games, what's your thought on these safeties as alley runners and run supporters, along with their responsibility to get everybody lined up and play defense against the pass?
Man, those guys are doing a really good job. They are playing solid. They're not missing many tackles. I'm excited to see what Raider Dumuni is going to be able to do. I think he has some athleticism and twitch that some of the other safeties may not have it. And when I say twitch, I mean faster. Like his dad Jack could roll, and so Raider has some speed as well, and he's still knocking some rust off from his mission. But so yeah, I think they've ran the alley well. I want to see them start getting some interceptions, some forced fumbles. We have to play offense on defense, and turnovers are something that you scheme and strategize for as you watch film. And in today's college football, because of the no huddle and wanting to run plays fast, there's not very many plays that an offense will run. So after the first quarter, I can pretty much call most of the plays that are going to take place, because in this day and age of trying to run plays, you can't have a vast array of plays. So therefore, as a defender, you can know how to jump routes. You can know how you're going to feel. And so that's when you really go to the next level, is you say, not only am I going to be a sure tackler, but I'm going to tackle the man and strip the ball because I'm getting the ball back for my offense.
Former BYU and Indianapolis Colts defensive back Derwin Gray is on the Wise Guys tonight, presented by Brady Plus and distributed by the Deseret News. You had some big nights, 3 interceptions against New Mexico and a pick 6. You had 22 tackles in a game against Penn State. How much fun is it to be flying around back there making plays?
Well, first of all, I'm still sore from having 22 tackles.
And that's too many for a free safety, right, Dewey? That's too many.
People go, man, that's a record for defensive backs. And I'm like, that is one record I wish I did not have, because I still feel those tackles. So here's a funny story about the 3 picks versus New Mexico. So in spring ball of 1990, I was battling Norm Dixon and Josh Arnold for the free safety job. And I felt like I won the job. Coach Tom Homo felt like I won the job, but Dick Felt was the head defensive back coach. So for the first 3 games of that year, I didn't start. But for the first 3 games, I got defensive back player of the game and special teams player of the game 3 games in a row without starting. So finally, they start me against New Mexico. I get 3 interceptions and a touchdown in only 2.5 quarters, and they took me out of the game. I may have had 5. And so after that game, there was never again any conversation about who was the starting free safety at Brigham Young University.
Well, you were known. I was a great alley runner and a great run supporter, but when I think back on you, I think about roaming in the back end of that secondary and taking great angles and being a great pass defender. What things do you think made you a great pass defender, and what characteristics do players have to have today to be a great pass defender at that safety position?
Yeah, so I think the first thing, and this may seem a little counterintuitive, but I loved my teammates. I loved my coaches. Therefore, I wanted to give my best, and I loved the game. I loved what I did. It was a privilege. It wasn't an entitlement. And because I love my coaches, I love my teammates, and I love the game, that means I had to prepare. I had to practice the way I wanted to play. So after that foundation is set, next it goes into your study and preparation. There's tendencies, there's downs, there's distance. And then lastly, there's confidence. Do you actually believe you can do it? Are you willing to fight through adversity? And once you give yourself over to, I'm present and I'm going to engage, then your natural God-given ability takes over. So you don't rise to the level of the moment. You rise to the level of your preparation. And so I think that's what allowed me to have a very productive and career at BYU.
I think people don't recognize how much that preparation puts you in spots to make plays, and I know you put a ton in. And I don't know if you saw the post game at all, Dewey, that we did, but we talked to I'm losing my mind here, our starting corner. Oh, Collins. We talked to Collins about his pick. And he said, well, funny story about that is we've been working on the different combinations, and I knew they were going to run the post wheel combination. And so I knew I would pass the guy off, and then I would jump back on top of that wheel. And the corner also carried it because he knew what they were doing. And he says, and then the crazy thing is, the morning of the game, my graduate assistant coach that works with corners came to me and said, I had a dream last night, and it was down in this end zone, and they ran that post wheel combination, and you came off and you picked the ball off. Yeah. And so the coach was dreaming about the preparation. The player had prepared. Yeah. I mean, when you hear that, does that not give you hope for this defense?
It does. And you want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
The night before I got the 3 interceptions against New Mexico, each one of the interceptions was the way I had dreamed it. And I actually dreamed I had a fourth, but they took me out the game.
They should have left you and you would have had the fourth for
Come
sure.
on.
I would have had the fourth. Yeah. No, but that's what preparation does, is it puts it into your subconscious. And that actually prepares me as a husband, as a father, as a pastor. The same way that I game planned a game is the way I game plan and prepare for life as well. So BYU is a high IQ team. And if we can keep this intensity, and I think it's important for us to keep not a chip on our shoulder, but the Wasatch Mountains on it, because we're already at half of the number of games people said that we would win. And so we need to go into this Wyoming game and not even allow them to think they have a chance. So we have to not overlook them getting ready for Kansas State. We have to go into it with intensity and fire. That right now is the best time to be your best.
I would think after the way the offense looked at SMU that would be their full focus, and grateful to have an opportunity against Wyoming. As Kalani prepares the team for the Cowboys on Saturday, one of the popular questions around Cougar Nation, of course, is about the quarterback. Are you, Dewey, comfortable with Jake Retzlaff at quarterback after the first 2 weeks, or do you want Gary Bohannon to take a few extra snaps this week with the first unit to be on standby? What do you think?
Yeah, so what I look for, particularly in a quarterback, is poise. So poise is, am I keeping my cool in the midst of chaos? And I knew after the first series that Jake was rattled. And what the coaches did is, I don't know if you noticed this, but in the third and fourth quarter, we basically went to a RPO offense where he was running the RPO, the run pass option. And in my mind, I'm like, well, if we're going to run the RPO offense, why not put in a guy that's 6'2", 6'3", 230 pounds and just actually run it, if that's what we're going to do. But last week, Jake was not poised, and I was hoping that the next series poise would come into play, because you got jitters and nerves. Yeah. And so if he continues to turn over the ball, let me put it to this way. Our defense has the ability to win us 8 to 9 games.
Amen.
No question. The reality is we need a quarterback who can manage the game and not turn the ball over. That requires poise, because our receiving core is deep. We got some dudes at wideout. We got some dudes at tight end. And I'm calling it now. And this isn't even going out on a limb. Miles Davis, if he can just take that one extra step of confidence, that dude might run for 200 yards this game. He is lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good. And now we get to see him and Noahini, and we hadn't seen him at all. The transfer from Utah State, he looked pretty good at running back. He looked like he was more willing to go downhill, and so yeah, they've. We were talking about this, Dewey, earlier in the show, and I was just saying, turnovers is the number one thing. You can be average on offense with a great defense and win a bunch of games. You just can't turn it over, because you'll lose games against teams that you're better than if you turn it over.
Turnovers are gangrene to the soul of a football team.
Yes, I love it.
Boise, Idaho. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I say Boise, Idaho's in the house to listen to you. Lots of folks on here saying we love Dewey, one of our favorite players all time. Orem, Utah in the house as well.
Somebody was bragging about your expertise in fishing.
Yeah, just a
I didn't know that was somebody's on here saying Dewey is one of the greatest fishermen.
That was Les.
Yeah, what lake? Yeah, it was Les Naumann saying, what lakes has he been out on lately? I didn't know you were such a fisherman.
Oh, I love to fish. Matter of fact, back when I was at the Y, my fellow San Antonio Texian, Ty Detmer, and I used to go fishing down at the golf courses in South Provo.
Oh, down to the old East Bay, yeah.
Yeah, East Bay, and we would just catch catfish. One time we caught a stringer full of catfish, put them in the back of our truck, came home and said, you know what, let's go throw them back. drove them back to East Bay, and they all swam off.
Yeah, you can't kill a catfish. You can't kill a catfish.
Those catfish are tough.
They were like, "We're waiting you out. We got plenty of oxygen in our lungs."
Brett's
I love to fish.
Oh, that's fun.
That's cool. Brett's on the stream from Melissa, Texas.
Melissa, Texas. I'm not sure where Melissa
Lots
is.
of Texans on here tonight. We also have Perth, Australia in checking you out, Dewey.
Mark Axel says he has dreams of fishing with a great Dewey Gray one day. So there you go.
Maybe we can make it happen.
Hey, you're going back to Laramie where you won twice, 1990 and 1992. You had a pick in the 90 game, a 45-14 win, and then in 92 it was a little closer, 38-31, 4 solo tackles. What are your memories of playing on the high plains of Laramie that these guys are going to go experience for the first time really since 2009?
Well, the first thing was when we get to Laramie, like you walk into your hotel from outside.
Like, yeah, it's a motel. It's a motel, but they have a couple new hotels now, though.
I mean, maybe they've changed it, but we're like, okay. And then, secondly, the fans were bananas. But in 1990, we got ranked as highest number 4 in the nation. That was the year that we beat Miami.
Yeah.
And we were battling Wyoming for the WAC conference championship. And on offense, we had 756 yards.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, we came ready to play, and we smacked them. My senior year in 92, we started off really slow, and we had to make a comeback. But, man, when we did, we got after those guys. We really did. But
is there anything to this, Dewey, where – you know, they have their sign in the visitor locker room, welcome to 7,000 feet. And, I mean, I guess if you're coming up from the coast, it's a big deal. Did you ever feel it affect you coming where you train at almost 5,000 feet, or does that not a factor?
You know, it didn't really affect us because, you know, we trained pretty high at BYU. But it does have an effect. You know, in 1990, when we beat Miami, Randall Thrill-Hill, 4-3 guy for the Hurricanes, ran a deep route, and he was going back to the huddle, and he was saying to Tony Crutchfield, our starting corner, he was going, how do y'all breathe here? And that was play one.
Play one?
Wow.
That was play one, and we were like, okay, we got a shot. Listen, if we play them 10 times, they may win 9, but all we need is 1.
Yeah, and you
That's
got
a
that
great
one.
story.
When Lavelle said his famous quote in the early 80s, I'd rather lose and live in Provo than win and live in Laramie, do you know exactly what he's talking about?
Yeah, so let me say what I do appreciate about Laramie, Wyoming, is those fans love their Cowboys. And you know what? I respect that. And every time we played there, the fans let us have it. For the most part, the Cowboys were competitive. They had a really good receiver when I was there. His name was Ryan Yarborough. Yeah. And Ryan went on to play in the NFL as well. And Ryan and I used to battle. Matter of fact, I talked to Ryan probably a year and a half ago. He's back in Texas. And we were just laughing about the good old days. And in 91, we were playing in Provo, and he ran a quick slant. It was a zero coverage, so I had him in man. He ran a quick slant, and he thought he was going to score, and I blasted him and stripped him and recovered the fumble. So I sent him a picture of that and said, have a good day.
That's awesome. People forget that game when Lavelle was it was the quote of the week in Sports Illustrated in 81. But you got to remember, BYU took a nationally ranked team up there with Jim McMahon at quarterback, and before the game, black clouds started to roll in from the west. And by the time the game started, it was snowing. And it was not just snowing. It was snowing sideways. And the players, we all went in the locker room at halftime, and they had 5 inches of snow just on one side, nothing on the other side because it was snowing sideways. And we were throwing the ball 55 times a game back then. They were running the option back then. So they just optioned the game game long, gave it to the fullback, and we ended up losing the game. And he said that quote after that experience in Laramie. Like, we all agreed 100%. We could never live in that place where it snows sideways like that. So,
former BYU defensive back Derwin Gray on the Wise Guys tonight, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. Wise Guys presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News. Couple more questions. We'll get to your top 5 quarterbacks all time. Yeah. We have an idea who number 1 is, but there's some debate there. But this Thursday down in Arizona, Max Hall's offense goes up against Ty Detmer's offense. Mano a mano. Who's your money on, Max or Ty?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, guys, I mean, I'm from San Antonio with Ty. I played with Ty, so I'm going to go with Ty. Period. Even if all the evidence was to the contrary, I'm going with my boy Ty Detmer.
Yeah, understood.
You've gotten to know Kalani quite well, and of course you played with Coach Edwards, who's was one of the greatest of all time. What do you see in Kalani that you saw in Coach Edwards?
You know what I see in Kalani that I saw in Coach Edwards is that Kalani loves his players. Coach Edwards from the outside, he would have this scowl on his face, and you just thought he was angry, but he was one of the funniest human beings you could ever be around, and he genuinely loved his players, and you wanted to play for him. So many of us, he was a father figure for us. Like, he was more than a coach. And so I think you see that in Kalani as well, the way the players are endeared to him. I think you see that in some of the ways that Kalani gambles on fourth down and does some of those types of things. And I think you see it in the way Kalani loves BYU. And so much of what Kalani does in the imprint of Coach Edwards is on him, and he wants to recreate a part of that.
Dewey Gray with us. By the way, Dr. Ketch from Vegas on the live stream said, we knew, capitalizing knew, you would go with Ty, Dewey. So
yes,
the scouting report is out. I have a feeling Ty is going to be at the top of this list, too. 5 Questions is presented by Strategy Square, delivering connection, clarity, and confidence in business and marketing strategies. Tonight, Dr. Derwin Gray is going to reveal his top 5 BYU quarterbacks in program history. Blaine, you're going to start them 5 through 1?
Let's go 5 through, because we want to save the best for last. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll start with number 5. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Steve Sarkisian, who is crushing it at the University of Texas. And Steve Sarkisian arguably led the greatest BYU football team ever, the 96 team, to a victory over Kansas State. And so Steve Sarkisian is number 5. Do you want me to go to number 4?
No, yeah, go right for it. And by the way, his senior season, wow.
Fantastic.
Like, he was lights out. He should be in that top 5. Okay, and then who you got for 4?
Yeah, for 4, I'm going to go with the one and only Jim McMahon.
You got McMahon at 4? Okay.
I have Jim McMahon at number 4.
Wow.
Yes,
All
I have
right.
Jim McMahon at number 4. Jim is a trailblazer. He's phenomenal. At number 3, I'm going to go with Steve Young at number 3. Steve Young is now, I'm not counting the NFL career.
Right, this is college. We get that, yeah. Because Steve Young is the greatest NFL quarterback in BYU history. It's not close. We all agree on that, right?
Yeah, so Steve could have been in the NFL in multiple positions. Yeah. He's that great of an athlete. And by the way, I intercepted Steve Young in 1995. So I just want everybody to know.
Right?
Yeah. We beat the 49ers, and I played a key role in that. Picked them off. It was a great day of my life. Number 2.
Hang on. Let's add some drama here.
Yeah.
First of all, we're going to hopefully have Steve on later in the month. We're going to ask him about that experience.
He won't remember me.
he just might. So, of the top 5, number 5, Steve Sarkisian. Number 4, Jim McMahon. Number 3, Steve Young. That's an interesting group up there, because a lot of those guys would be 1, 2.
2 of those guys were Pro Bowlers, right? But we're not counting pros.
We're talking
college.
Although Jim McMahon did have 34 NCAA records after his junior year before he even suited up as a senior.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now that sets the stage.
Here we go. 2 and 1 is going to be big here. Okay.
Number 2. I'm going with the national championship quarterback, Robbie Bosco.
All right.
Robbie led us to a natty.
And Robbie was coaching the quarterbacks when you were there, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah, there you go. So you know him as a player and as a coach.
And I know him as a kid in 8th grade who was watching these ESPN games, and I would see this team called BYU playing, and I seen a guy named Robbie Bosco throwing the ball all over the place, and that put a seed in my mind about BYU, which would turn into who I am today. Yeah,
Wow,
and so
There you go.
yeah, and so I mean the man led us to a natty. So I mean he's got to be number 2, and then number 1, I'm going with the one and only skinny kid from San Antonio, Texas, the original gunslinger, Ty Detmer.
We knew Ty would be, and it's hard to argue with the Heisman Trophy. That's for sure.
I mean the man threw for 432 yards a game the year he won the Heisman Trophy. He was able to just do some incredible things, orchestrated a victory against University of Miami. And so I know those picks are somewhat controversial, and I don't throw any shade against the incredible Jim McMahon or the incredible Steve Young. I just think what Robbie Bosco did in leading us to win a Natty and Ty Detmer leading us to win a Heisman is quite remarkable. But of those 5, you can pretty much flip it any kind of way except for maybe Sarkisian, and you're okay with a top 5. But that's just my little old top 5.
I love it.
Dewey, the fact that you helped Ty win that Heisman Trophy, does that skew the list?
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, I'm not being I mean, Ty is my guy, but no other BYU quarterback, no other BYU player has won a Heisman, right?
Yeah, and we hate to point this out, but no Utah players ever won a Heisman Trophy
that's
either.
true.
We
That's
try
true.
to point that out every time we talk about Ty's Heisman, that no Utah players ever won a Heisman.
But think about it, too. To get that Heisman, you had to beat Miami. Defense had to have their finest hours a whole bunch of times through that season.
We did. We had a great game plan against those guys. And Irvin Lee, my fellow Texan, I mean, he had the game of his life. Irvin Lee went crazy. Our defensive line went crazy. That was one of those moments where, from the fans to the coaches to the air we breathe, everything was won.
Yeah.
And we were not going to lose. And what a lot of people don't know is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was like a third-string defensive tackle.
That's
for
right.
the Miami Hurricanes that game. So there's one thing that I'm better than The Rock at.
Is there any question that that's BYU's greatest win ever? Is that BYU's greatest win?
You know, I'm partial to the national championship, obviously, even though I didn't play on that team. But for us to have defeated that star-studded defending national championship Miami Hurricane team, and that was in the heyday of Miami being Miami. And I cannot think of a more scintillating victory in the history of BYU. And man, as a sophomore, I got to be a part of it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody would argue that's the most talented team BYU's ever beaten, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Hey, what's your latest book? What do you got going on we can pitch here tonight?
Yes, so my latest book is called Lit Up with Love, Becoming Good News People in a Gospel-Starved World. And so this book, number 1, is for people who want to grow in their love for Christ. This book is for people who want to grow as a follower of Christ. And this book is for people who want to reach others with the gospel of Christ. And so I see so many people complaining about how bad our culture is, and they're waiting for politicians to do what Jesus asked his people to do. People who are in the White House, they don't change hearts. The gospel changes hearts. And I wish more people were preoccupied with being so in love with Jesus that they wanted the world to experience that love. So that's why the book is called Lit Up with Love. And people can go to derwinlgray.com/lit up with love, derwinlgray.com /lit up with love. And so my son Jeremiah is in law school at Penn Cary Law, number 4 law school in the country. And so all the proceeds go to needy children, primarily my own. So go ahead and pre-order.
I love it.
That's outstanding. And something tells me there has to be a couple of football references in that book somewhere, right? There's
Yes.
always a lesson
There's
from
something
your
to be learned.
heyday.
That's for sure. So
Heck yeah.
That's good.
Football is it's in my DNA, and to me, football is such a precursor for life. Everything that you want to learn about life, you can learn from playing. As a pastor of a church of 9,000 people, the lessons that I learned from Coach Edwards, my high school coach, NFL coaches, all those things that I've learned have made me a more effective leader. Like Coach Edwards was great at delegation, vision, inspiration, delegation, coaching his coaches, right?
Yeah.
My high school coach was great at vision. Some NFL coaches were great at time management and organization. And so football to me is a precursor for life.
Fantastic. Hey, give Vicky our best. We're glad that we could steal you away for a few minutes on a Monday
we always
night.
love having you.
Appreciate it, guys. You have a good one. Go Cougs.
Hey, what's your score for Saturday? What
Yeah,
do you
give
got?
us a score for BYU Wyoming.
Man, I just think we're going to have an offensive explosion, 38-10 BYU.
38-10. I like it.
38-10. We're going to revisit 38-10 next Monday
Okay.
night.
Dewey says 38-10. I believe it.
Hey, we
So,
appreciate you, Dewey. Appreciate how you represent always, and we're so we're lucky to have you on the show. And these Texas, that part of you is where
Yeah,
we're
that's
wearing
right.
these. This is part of our honor too. Part of our tribute to you wearing the
Yeah,
Texas.
Derwin was BYU Texas. He was.
BYU Texas.
I was.
Thanks,
Texas
brother.
Pipeline.
See you
you
later.
guys.
See
All
ya.
right.
Thanks.
The great Derwin Gray live back in South Carolina, and what a dynamic defender he was.
Oh man,
And then
he could do
his
it all.
rest of his life is just storybook with how he's managed to bless the lives of other people.
Oh yeah, he really has. You know, we always take great pride in the stuff we do of finding people doing, catching people doing good in the world, and that guy, that's it, constantly what he's doing.
Next week, Gifford Nielsen, Hall of Fame quarterback, is going to be here with us on the Wise Guys. Our next guest is overseeing all the alumni activities ahead of Saturday's game in Laramie. A pleasure to welcome BYU Alumni Director for the Denver, Colorado area, Jennifer Wise, to the Wise Guys. Hey, sorry for making you wait a little bit. It's great to see you.
No worries. Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
What'd you think about that game last Friday night?
The SMU game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I loved it because we won. So, yeah, it was really fun to watch.
And do you follow the Cowboys too? Being up in Wyoming, doesn't everyone in the state have to have Wyoming kind of? Do they have to watch them a little bit, or they get kicked out of the state, or is that not happen?
Well, I'm from Colorado, but I've heard that that's true. I believe that's
okay.
true, but I don't know for sure.
There was a time we never thought BYU was going to go back to play football in Laramie. In fact, when BYU went independent, Wyoming at the time said, we'll never schedule you again. And then they softened, and BYU did a home and home, and they decided to stick with it, even though they moved on to be a Power 4 team. But what's been the reaction of alumni in the region to have BYU coming back to Laramie?
Well, we're excited. It's interesting because there's not an alumni chapter in Laramie.
Right.
So those of us putting on the tailgate on Saturday are either from the Denver chapter with me or from the Casper chapter. So we are the closest ones to Laramie. We're all of us about 2.5, 3 hours away. So it's not really in our back door, but we're excited because it's, pretty close.
Yeah, and there didn't seem to be a pathway for BYU really to play in Colorado again, because they're not going to play they weren't going to play Air Force again. Colorado State was never going to be there, and Colorado was in the Pac-12 as BYU moved to the Big 12. Now all of a sudden, BYU is going to start coming on a regular basis in all sports and play in Colorado. What does the alumni in that area feel about that?
Yeah, we're excited about that. I think we are. For most of us, that kind of is in our backyard, Boulder, so we're excited about that.
So what are the plans for Cougar fans in Laramie? And I imagine they'll get any ticket that they can buy and find their way in. What's on the agenda for this weekend?
All right, so we've got some games. We're going to have actually some really fun games, if I can just throw that out there, as well as pictures with Cosmo. The cheer squad's going to be there. I've heard President Reese is going to be there. And we also are doing a Cougs Care service project. So the one that we chose was a food donation. Well, actually, they take a little bit more than food, but a food donation for the University of Wyoming's Food Share Pantry. So this is just on campus, and it's just any University of Wyoming student or staff member who is in need of it can drop by the food pantry and pick up, household items, toiletries, dry goods, canned food, etc. And so I have been coordinating with their coordinator, Jess Dewey, who is really thrilled that we have chosen the food pantry to do our Cougs Care project for. And I learned in the process that they have a pretty small space. So we are kind of doing a twofer. We kind of get a 2-for-1 service project out of this because they partner with Laramie Interfaith. And so we're going to fill the pantry, hopefully, and any overage will go to Laramie Interfaith. And the church is sending a truck of food as well.
That's
awesome. The Laramie Interfaith will.
Do you remember, Blaine, when BYU went to Arkansas, they did this too. They filled the food pantry, and somebody tweeted after from Arkansas and said, how do you hate BYU fans? They show up, they fill our food pantry, they beat our football team, and then they leave.
Yeah, we're hoping for a similar result on Saturday.
We hope so as well. Is there a way for alumni that aren't going to make it up to the game to participate in the service project? Is there something they could do to contribute or help?
Oh, that's a great question. We have not thought that far ahead, but I do know that one of the tables at our tailgate is going to be about the Black 14, the Black 14 philanthropy. We were hoping to donate to them at first, but that didn't work out. So we're having a table for them, and I know that they do take donations to support students in the community as well.
Is there a website, even if it's through your Denver group, a website that we can give out where folks can get more information?
Let's see. I would say our alumni chapter, our Denver alumni chapter website, which I don't have right off the top of my head.
All right.
I apologize.
That's right. If you send it to us, we'll get it out.
All right, I will do that. And then we'll have some information there for people.
So we want you to put your analyst hat on now, your football analyst hat, and we know you've been studying this. We want your 3 keys. Your 3 keys as a football analyst to BYU victory on Saturday night.
Oh man. Well, I came mostly prepared to talk about the tailgate, but let me try that hat on for a minute. Let's see. Actually, the defensive line looked really good, I thought, last week.
Yeah.
So keep doing that.
So D-line continues to play well. They're going to dominate. I like that. That's a great first key.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I can come up with 3. You want to give me 2?
Turnovers.
We'll do 2. We'll do 2.
We'll give you turnovers, right?
Turnovers we'll give to you. They got to not turn the ball over.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to say.
Okay,
so turnovers. Yeah. So I graduated from BYU in the early 90s, and so I love the passing game. I'm a big fan of the passing game.
Seemed to be popular.
I was there when Ty Detmer, won the Heisman, and I just love a good passing game. So I don't know if that's a prediction or 3 keys, but if you want to make me happy, show me a great passing game.
There you go. We're going to make that. So we're going to say the D-line needs to continue to dominate, that they need to limit turnovers, and that get the ball in the air and bring back the BYU passing game. I love that. That's 3 great. That's 3 great keys.
Now look, we'll get you out of here with this one though, because we've got 5 questions for you.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
These 5 questions are presented by Strategy Square, delivering connection, clarity, and confidence in business and marketing strategies. When we're done with these 5 questions, more people will know things about you than they do right now.
Yeah, I don't know how many continents we're on tonight. Sometimes we're on 5 different continents. So if people on perhaps 5 continents are going to know you a little bit better. So there we go.
All righty.
Okay, number 1.
Your favorite sports movie?
Sports movie. Probably The Blind Side.
That's a good one.
You know what? A few people have said that, but not as many as you would think. That's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It is a great movie.
Sandra Bullock was fantastic, and Tim McGraw, I didn't even know that was Tim McGraw. That's how good he was.
I know.
He was good.
You couldn't tell. I know.
So, how about your favorite singer or band?
Oh, man. I actually kind of have a lot, but let's go with U2.
You too?
You too. Classic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. How about your favorite breakfast cereal?
Special K with strawberries.
That's quite healthy.
Okay. With strawberries.
Yeah.
All right. That's a new
I'm
one.
a mom. It's not like I'm going to be eating Lucky Charms.
Special.
right?
You should be
Well,
eating
come
Lucky
on.
Charms. There's nothing wrong with Lucky
Not a
Charms.
thing
Save
wrong
the
with
charms for last. Eat the grain and then save the charms for last, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, your favorite BYU quarterback of all time. I think I know the answer to this, but we're going to throw it out there.
Ty Detmer.
Yeah.
Ty Detmer. It's a Ty Detmer theme
It's
tonight.
yeah, because Dewey's was Ty Detmer as well. Okay, how about your favorite BYU memory? It doesn't even have to be sports. Your favorite BYU memory of your
man.
time here.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I loved all 4 years. It's the best place to be. And I just recently, President Reese has talked about lighting the Y and being the light of the Y.
Yeah.
And that really speaks to me. I just feel like there's so much opportunity to be good and do good and learn and make a difference with what you've learned.
That's awesome.
I loved all of it. I don't know if that's a cheater answer, but I loved
No,
all
it's
of
fine.
it.
You
That's
put all
great.
four. Or put all 4 years.
Yep,
That's how
put
we
all
wrote
4
down. All
years.
4 years. Hey, have a great time over there in Laramie.
Thank
Spencer will be
you.
over there on the pregame show, so maybe you can come to your tailgate.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how many fans are we going to have there? What do you think?
I don't know. It's not a huge stadium, but I'm hoping we'll fill it. I'm guessing we will. We're expecting about 500, I think, at our tailgate
Great.
right before it. So, go Cougs.
Hey, it's been a while since the Cougars have been over
seem
there.
to show up wherever they go, which is great.
Jennifer Wise is the alumni director for BYU in the Denver, Colorado area, expanding the reach to include Laramie.
That's right.
This weekend.
sure.
Thanks for coming on the Wise Guys. We appreciate all you do, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Of course. Thank you so much.
You got it.
Good night.
All right. So now we've checked in, and we've set the table for Saturday night. By the way, that leads us to our Cougar Board question of the week. If you're not familiar with Cougar Board, it's the largest online community of BYU fans with thousands of posts daily. This question's from Dilbert, one of their insider subscribers, and it's coming right at you, Blaine. What do you think can be done to get the offense working better this week, especially when we enter Big 12 play, which is the following week?
Yeah, so you have to identify where your weapons are. And I know they went into that last game thinking LJ Martin is a big-time weapon. Against SMU, big teams over the last couple of years have been able to knock them off the ball with a big back and run the ball at them. And that got short-circuited after one series, right? I wish they would have made adjustments faster, but now they've got a week to get ready for Wyoming. And this game for Wyoming not only gets them ready for Wyoming, but this is to launch them into the rest of the year. You have to get the ball to playmakers in space. And right now, let's think about playmakers. They're out on the edge. It's Darius Laster. It's Chase Roberts. They're on the inside, but they're on the end of the line.
Mm-hmm.
It's your tight ends. Tight ends are a weapon, right? And so to me, to get this thing going, you start with a quick pass game, which can be a bit of a substitute for a run game. You make a defense run from sideline to sideline, and it's okay if you throw a screen pass out to the edge and it gets 3 yards. That whole defense has got to run all the way to that sideline. Then you come back and you throw a ball over to the right sideline. That whole defense runs to the right sideline. And those plays that are 3 and 4 yards to start the game end up being 7 and 8 yards later in the game. And guess what else happens? Your run game opens up because you wear the defense down from chasing. And those are pass plays that are almost automatic completions. And so I feel like you've got to get Jake Retzlaff in easy decision-making rhythm mode, and you got to distribute the ball quickly with quick passing game, and that can add to this game. We didn't see a ton of that last week. Over the week, when he does throw the quick pass game, he's pretty accurate, and he throws the ball on time. Yeah. Let's see more of that. I think that would help.
All right, good answer. Hey, by the way, Don't forget to pick up your own copy of Deseret News' 1984, featuring Blaine's team on the 40th anniversary of the national championship. You can get your copy at Deseret.com/1984. You can read about Blaine in here. I got a few articles in here as well. But it's the glory year in one publication, Deseret.com/1984. That's now available to the public, and you can order yours.
It's really fun.
Every living room should have it. Just sitting there.
The angle that you guys, and you were one of the main writers for this, the angles that you guys took were really, really fun because they were kind of a player's eye view of what was going on.
Yeah, what can we shed light that's different? Because we all watched it a million times.
Yeah, I read the whole thing cover to cover. So I appreciate you guys putting it together. It was really, really fun, and it made me go back to that time and reminisce, and it'll make everybody, whether you were there or not, or were there to witness it or not, it'll take you back. It's really fun.
All right. Let's talk about these Wyoming Cowboys. They're 0-2.
Let's go back to that. Yeah.
Lost to Arizona State 45-7 in Tempe, which was a surprise. We thought, well, Arizona State's going to be really down because they've been down, and Wyoming's been up. And then they went to Sun Devil Stadium or Mountain America Stadium, and they just got killed. So we thought, well, okay, they're going to play Idaho in Laramie back on Saturday. They'll bounce back. And the Vandals were playing with their third-string quarterback.
And hey, I get it. Idaho's a good FCS team.
And they beat Wyoming straight up 17-13.
Yeah.
It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a Hail Mary. Wyoming couldn't beat them.
Wyoming struggled. They've been struggling for 2 weeks offensively to establish the pass game, to run the football, and then their defense just gets worn down. And that's kind of been the story this couple of weeks. Now, keep in mind, new coach, some new schemes that they're trying to learn. But there was enough players coming back on this team that you felt like Wyoming would be better than they are right now.
You know, they 194 yards of offense in 2 games combined. That's second worst than the FBS.
They're averaging 10 points a game.
Yeah.
10 points a game.
It's like, this is exactly what BYU needs coming out of
they're giving up.
SMU.
They're giving up 32.5 games per game, and they average 10 points a game. And they've rushed for 184 yards total in 2 games. And one of those teams was an FCS team where you would think they would have, the advantage. But they're averaging 92 yards rushing a game, and they're averaging 102 yards passing a game. The offense has just been anemic. And so total offense, average per game, 194 yards.
Yeah.
Now, BYU took an SMU team with 9 returning guys on offense from an offense that averaged almost 500 yards a game last year.
And scored 59 the week before.
And held them to 261 yards total offense.
Yeah, and no touchdowns.
So if I would be surprised if BYU can't shut this offense down. And if they can shut this offense down and give the ball to that BYU offense, perhaps we see BYU's offense start to get a rhythm, because you know what they need? They need the defense to just continue to play lights out, and they need this offense to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
And this could be the game where they do that.
The Mackeys checking in from Montana. Hey, sorry we're late. Hey, we'll take you anytime. We appreciate your late check-in. Also, Roger telling us there are tickets still available for the Wyoming game on Saturday night. So the weather's going to be nice. It's a good day to drive over or drive in from Denver or Fort Collins, Colorado Springs, or however you can get there. But tickets are still available for Saturday night. It's a 7 o'clock kick on the CBS Sports Network. Vegas has BYU favored by 10.
Which surprises me.
I thought it'd be more.
Think about this, though. They had an 11.5 underdog to SMU. I was surprised what the line was. They were only like a 10-point favorite. In fact, it went
Vegas
to
doesn't like BYU.
It went to single digits for the Southern Illinois game before the kick.
Yeah. I don't get it.
It was like 8.5, and I'm going 8.5. They're going to kill Southern Illinois.
Vegas does not like BYU.
Then I thought the SMU game. Remember, I said it on the air, will be lower scoring than people think. But I thought it'd be a game in the 20s. I had no idea that BYU's defense was going to shut them down like that.
No.
But I said 11.5 point underdog. That's too much. And now I'm saying 10's not enough.
When you consider BYU is 22-3 in their last 25 night games, including 7-1 on the road, and they're taking an offense that should be bugged in there, and a defense that's got their identity of, hey, we're going to go in there and going to shut them down.
Well, and I was that 7-1 on the road for BYU. I called the one, and I have to tell you, the place went nuts. They tore the goalpost down. They broke it into pieces. They passed it up the stadium and threw it out. And now that part of the goalpost sits in a bar. Hanging over the bar is one of the greatest wins in Wyoming history. So the good news is, I don't know if I was bad karma or not, but I'm not going to be there this week, so that's all good.
The forecast for Laramie, a high of 79, low of 44. So it's a 7 o'clock start, gets dark around 8. So it'll be the coolest second half that BYU's had this year. The Cougars are going to come out in the white shirts, white pants, royal helmet, and royal trim.
That's one of my favorite away combos.
Yeah, I love that one. I like the one they had the other night with the navy trim.
It looked good. I'm a royal. I'm kind of like Kalani, a traditionalist. I love the royal trim on the white. I like white on white, like the white pants and the white shirts, but I like the royal trim the best. History-wise,
it's the 80th meeting between these two. BYU leads at 46-30 with 3 ties. The Cougars have won 9 straight in the series. They last met a couple years ago here in Provo, 38-24. Miles Davis had 130 yards rushing. Miles Davis is going to run on Saturday.
That's why Derwin predicted he was going to have 200 yards rushing.
Keanu Hill had a big night receiving. He's still trying to figure out the tight end spot. 2009 is the last time they were over in Laramie and beat them 52-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the memory.
And that one win for Wyoming, I was talking about. That was 13-10 in Laramie in 2003. That's the one I was mentioning. But hey, this is a regional rivalry. This is a long-standing rivalry. Wyoming's going to come, and you talk about with a chip on your shoulder. This is the biggest game of the year for Wyoming, and I know they play in a different league, but this is the biggest game of the year for them right now.
Before you roll out your 3 keys to beating the Cowboys, ESPN's FBI win probabilities increased from 4.7 to 6.5.
Yeah, there you go.
Because they didn't have BYU winning at SMU.
SMU was preseason the least likely game for BYU to win the entire season.
And now they give BYU a 49% chance of winning at least 7 games. Yeah. That's what that SMU win did to their numbers.
I'm really interested to see how SMU is moving forward. I think SMU is pretty, like, they have a ton of team speed. BYU neutralized it pretty well and manhandled them. I mean, they're going to the ACC, but it's not like it's the Big 12, the Big 10, or the SEC physicality-wise. So I don't know. I think SMU is a bold team.
They got Florida State later in the month at home.
How'd you like to be Florida State right now? They just spent I don't know how many millions on NIL, and they can't win a game.
And they're in court trying to get to a bigger. Yeah. It's just a nightmare for
craziness.
them. All right, here comes Blaine's 3 keys for beating Wyoming and getting off to a 3-0 start, which, by the way, last month we said
they would.
If they could get off to a 3-0 start,
and
then
we said that would set the
postseason's
table.
In play.
Yeah, and then we said we thought they would. We thought it would surprise people. And then all the FPI stuff came up, and SMU was the least likely win. And we're like, are we out of our minds?
Seriously.
Are we out of our minds?
Usually we are, but maybe not so much on this.
So here's my 3 keys, and we'll check them next week. We'll come back. I feel like this defense needs to be disruptive, meaning aggressive. Tackles for loss, quarterback hurries, quarterback sacks, forced turnovers. They've been that way for 2 weeks. I think that's the most important thing that BYU can do in this game, because this is a Wyoming offense that's lacking confidence right now.
So does that mean turnovers, or does it mean what?
It's tackles for loss, sacks, forced turnovers, and when you're disruptive, the offense never gets a flow. They struggle to move the ball. They struggle to score.
Okay, so
the result is
defense.
they really score. They struggle to score.
Because I had to clarify, because we have to revisit these.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to look at tackles for loss. I'd like to see 8 or more. Sacks, I'd like to see 3 or more. And turnovers, I'd like to see him force at least 2. So that's being disruptive.
All right.
So
number 2,
equally as important, figure out how to take care of the ball.
Take care of the ball.
So I want to see a game against Wyoming where they don't turn the ball over. So we're going to give them a high measuring stick. No turnovers.
If BYU doesn't turn the ball over, there's no way Wyoming beats them.
No, impossible.
But if they do come out and kick it around, it's on.
Yeah, when you turn the ball over on your own, like, think about it. BYU turned the ball over. Where was that? The one interception return down to the 3?
Yeah.
They had the ball on the 3-yard line. How they didn't score is miraculous that they didn't score.
Yeah, we can't rely on improbabilities.
If you turn the ball over and Wyoming has it on 3, they'll score.
Yeah.
Right? That's amazing that SMU didn't. So that's my figure out how to take care of the ball. My goal for this team is a flawless game where turnovers are concerned, to go some confidence in that Kansas State game.
Okay. Number 3.
My number 3 is I just touched on a minute ago. Get the stars on your offense the football in space. Feed the talent is the way we'll describe it.
Okay.
So I'm talking about, JoJo Phillips, Darius Lassiter, Chase Roberts, Reiner Swanson. How about Reiner Swanson? We've been waiting for him to kind of hit the seam because he's been hurt through fall camp. See that crossing route they hit him on?
Yeah.
That DB that came up and hit him looked like a leaf fell into the spikes of a
And then
bicycle.
they never went back. I don't even know what we were doing.
Yeah, it's like you have those kinds of weapons. Figure out how to get them the ball quickly in space.
Yeah.
They can do the rest. You don't have, and then you have some lid lifters. JoJo Phillips can go over the top. Darius can go over the top. Start with a quick passing game. Augment it with the run to keep them honest. And then they're going to creep up when they can't stop that. Then you throw it over the top.
Chuck it deep.
And BYU, they only threw 1 or 2 balls over the top last week.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. One was to Laster, which was really just over the middle. I'm trying to remember. There was one where he chucked it. He had a guy.
They threw one to Keelan.
Yeah,
and he threw it outside. And Keelan was running, and he had to try to flip his head around and catch it on the outside, and he almost caught it.
That's right.
If that ball's thrown earlier and inside, it's a touchdown. Right. So,
Okay, so feed the talent.
Feed the talent. You got to get it to those guys in space and let them do the work.
Here's the broadcast information. After further review is tomorrow night at 5 o'clock Mountain Time on the BYU TV app and ESPN Plus. We like to call it the best hour of BYU football on television. We're going to break down the SMU game. We're going to have some fun with Tyler Batty's big hit. We'll also preview Wyoming. That's free on the BYU TV app. And then it's also available on ESPN Plus tomorrow at 5. And, of course, Saturday's game day.
Don't forget to join us on game day. That Saturday, we'll be on the air at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 Eastern. That's on BYU TV. It's on the BYU TV app, and it's on ESPN Plus. So you can get it live on BYU TV, wherever that is. And BYU TV is pretty much everywhere. Right?
Yeah.
And if you want to watch it on your phone, get it on the ESPN Plus or on BYU TV app. 2 hours of coverage. We'll have Spencer live in War Memorial Stadium, so we'll take you inside the stadium there in Laramie, and from our BYU TV studios in Provo, where you and I and Austin and Belo and Nixon are all going to be manning the desk. That all leads up to the kickoff between the Cowboys and the Cougars at 7 p.m. Mountain. That's on CBS Sports. And the post-game show's back on BYU TV as soon as the game's over. So join us.
It's going to be a fun weekend. How about some surprises we saw in the Big 12?
Yeah, there was.
So, first of all, Iowa State kicks a 54-yard field goal with 6 seconds left. They were down 17-0. They come back and beat Iowa 20-19.
A lot of comebacks
Iowa's
in the Big 12.
nationally ranked at that time.
And here's the thing. Everybody in the national media was on the Iowa bandwagon.
Yeah.
They're like, Iowa's physical again. This maybe should be a top 10 team. They were ranked. And here's the thing. Iowa State, they love to hear somebody's physical. It's as physical a team as there is in the country, and they come out with a win.
Yeah.
How about Oklahoma State? They were trailing big time in that game. And they come back and beat Arkansas 39-31 in 2 overtimes.
What was weird about that is Arkansas had almost 300 more yards of offense and lost. And so I think Oklahoma State is still like I'm not sure what they are.
Yeah.
But
let's just say they're opportunistic. You give them a short field, they go and score.
They're going to play Utah in a couple of weeks, and we'll find out kind of what both those teams are.
Yeah, it's Utah's going to go down to a great environment down there. That Oklahoma State environment is something pretty cool.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of the Utes, they squeaked by Baylor 23-12. I say squeak because the score is close. Baylor was never really in it.
No.
But Cam Rising got hurt and left late in the first half, and something's up with his finger on his throwing hand. If it's broken, if it's jammed, if it messes up his throwing, they're going to be in trouble until it's back healthy. And so they got Oklahoma State in 2 weeks. We'll see where he's at.
Yeah.
Where he goes, they go. And if he's on the sideline, they're not anywhere near the championship.
It started out gloom and doom, and then like a few hours later it was, this isn't as serious as we thought it was. Maybe he misses a week. Maybe
One thing
he
we've learned about the Utes and turnovers, and injury
injuries?
reports, is nothing. They don't say anything about anything.
Yeah, you can't.
So
and anything
we'll see.
that comes at basically, you'll see when he's on the field or when he's not on the field, because Utah does not disclose anything.
No.
Which I think is, college football, in the NFL, you've got to post a roster.
Right.
You've got to tell who's hurt. You have to give classifications. If you're wrong, your team gets fined. And, the reason for that is because hundreds of millions of dollars are bet on sports.
Sure.
And so they force, and that's a big part of the NFL, and they make them. But guess what? Same thing with college football. And why do they not make teams actually post injury reports in that, like on Thursday of the week?
The
I think they
SEC is
should.
starting to do it now.
Yeah, I think
Some
they
of
should
them
do
are.
it. It's nonsense. Oh, like he's probably going to play. No, he's in a cast. Stop it.
But I heard Kyle today talking about it because they asked him. He goes, "Yeah, we just don't ever talk about that unless they're out for the year."
Yeah.
So it's like, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Utah State's going to get ready for
just
Isaac
so
Wilson.
nobody misunderstands me. I'm not saying Cam Rising's in a cast. I'm saying, but we've had injuries up there before.
But if he was, we wouldn't even know.
Well, it'll be a game time decision, and then we find out the guy's at a cast on Saturday on the sideline. And we're like, come on.
We're on his mission in Uruguay.
He's on a cast all the way from his knee down. Like, stop it. So
Kansas State, by the way, is coming next to BYU in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They beat Tulane 34-27. The winning touchdown was a 50-yard fumble return midway through the fourth quarter. I thought they would destroy Tulane, so it makes me wonder about Kansas State.
Yeah, but Tulane's been really good lately and had a bunch of returners, but I didn't think physically they would
you're
match
Kansas
up.
State. You're picked to take second.
I didn't think physically they would match up with them at all.
That surprised me.
And then Arizona State, I think, is a surprise team at 2-0 right now in the Big 12 Conference. They beat Mississippi State 30-23.
Had them at home, and they were ahead the whole time, but they looked fast and they looked big.
They looked good.
And they looked everything opposite of what we thought we would see.
We thought they just looked confused last year, and they looked really good.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So in the Big 12.
Hey, David Day's checking in from 35,000 feet, flying from D.C. to home in Portland. That's
awesome.
That counts for 12 states, and we appreciate you. And wait a minute, is that legal? Can you listen to a podcast on an airplane?
Maybe you can.
David, I'm not turning you in. I appreciate you being there, brother.
We're glad to have you. Just ask for some more peanuts and a soda.
Be careful up there, David.
We're gonna get you. We're gonna get you home. The new AP Top 25 Big 12 teams. Utah dropped a spot to 12. Oak State's at 13. Kansas State's at 14. Arizona's 20. Iowa State's 21. So they almost take over the poll after number 12.
Yeah. Lots of teams and lots of teams that are ranked, if they can stay ranked, still coming to Provo.
And we got a big week ahead.
Yeah.
There's some interesting games this week. Starting Friday. By the way, this is a non-Big 12 game.
Just
I kind of wished it was.
Baylor and Utah was non-Big 12.
But number 20 Arizona's at number 14 Kansas State. So BYU fans on Friday night will get a good look at both Wildcats.
Both teams.
They're both Wildcats, but Kansas State for sure because they're coming to Provo next.
Yeah.
So that's Friday night on Fox.
Yeah, 21st they come. On Saturday, Central Florida, who by the way has looked really good so far this year.
That's a scary road game for everybody.
Like if they stay healthy, I mean, they look dynamic. So Central Florida is at TCU. That's the first Big 12 game.
That's the first one.
2024.
Utah's at Utah State. West Virginia's at Pitt. Baylor's at home against Air Force. Then they're going to stay. I don't know if they'll stay home or not, but on the 28th, we're over there.
Right.
To Waco.
And then Colorado at Colorado State on Saturday.
What's going on with Deion Sanders? Is that just a disaster in the making?
Here's the problem. And Tom Holmoe came and told us he's a really good coach and attention to detail. But think about what we've learned at BYU. Jay Hill had some transfers in the defense last year, and now they're in their second year. And look at the difference, right? They're decent last year. They're really good this year. He has relied so much on transfers. Can you really play as a team in a cohesive unit, regardless of how good the coaching staff is, when it's just transfer you?
Doesn't seem like it.
So far, it's not going well.
Nebraska just beat them silly.
Yep.
A couple of national games of interest. Number 4, Alabama's going to Wisconsin.
Always tough
that
to
hasn't
play
happened before.
Yep.
And then number 9, Oregon State, who's the most overrated team in America.
At Oregon State, right?
Oregon, they're number 9. They're overrated. They play at Oregon State. This is usually a Thanksgiving weekend game.
Yeah, and Oregon State, I don't know. They had a bunch of guys transfer out when they became the P2 or the Pac-2.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because Oregon State was legit last year. And Oregon,
And Oregon should have got beat by Boise State and Idaho.
Boise State, well, and think about it. Utah did the same thing to Baylor. Utah manufactured a bunch of points last week, and that's what they do. They return a blocked field goal for a touchdown. They strip sack a guy deep in there. That's how Utah wins, right?
Yeah.
And Oregon doesn't usually win that way, and that's the way Oregon won. They had a punt return for a touchdown and a kickoff return for a touchdown. What in the world?
Let me give you an update on David Day, who's flying across the country listening to the Wise Guys. When we asked if it was legal, he says, well, worth it even if it's not. So So, hey, we're glad we could provide some in-flight entertainment.
That's what I'm
here on
talking
the Wise
about,
Guys.
David Day. That's awesome. That's a super fan right there.
That's right. Taking us where we haven't been before.
We appreciate it. We've never been 35,000 feet up.
and cruising through states. We've been in states, but we haven't cruised over states.
I think it's awesome.
We're doing it tonight.
Dave,
Men's
thank
Hoops. Marriott Madness, October 3rd, 7 o'clock. It's not televised, but it's we don't have a lot of details on it, but it's a chance for fans to go.
We might do that, but we're not.
It's not like a varsity preview. It's just kind of a party. They'll dunk and shoot some threes and have a good time. So that's coming up October 3rd. Our first game is October 30th.
Right.
The exhibition game before we get into the season. And they added some more size since we were together last.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this. When I go to practice, I'm like, man, it would be nice to have like another 6'10" guy. So what happens?
They went and got one.
They get a 6'10" guy.
Not just an ordinary 6'10"
Boskovic, who's from Serbia. Serbia's produced a ton of great players. Bunch in the NBA right now.
And he's not a teenager.
No, he's 22 years old. He's joined the current roster, compete this year. Fran Fischel, our good friend and ESPN analyst, all things basketball, he describes him as an excellent athlete and an outside shooter. So he's like what we were talking about earlier, like a 6'10" guy that's grown up shooting the basketball and handling the ball.
You know, the 6'9" Yegor Demon's also an outstanding shooter.
Great shooter and can handle the ball.
Towers out there shooting.
And is a rim runner, and so is Boskovic. So
yeah, fantastic. Hey, watch for my story later this week on Brody Kozlowski in the Deseret News. His journey full of twists, turns, and a really bad break. That's the tease.
Yeah, I like it.
For Brody Kozlowski in the Deseret News this week. Women's soccer, they're now 2-3-2 on the season. Beat Boise State last week 2-0. Went to number 6 Arkansas and got beat 4-2. What matters now is what happens on Thursday as Big 12 play begins. Yep. Arizona State is here in Provo at Southfield, 7 o'clock Mountain Time on ESPN+. That is the Big 12 opener. BYU, young, experienced. They're picked to win the Big 12. They've learned a lot of lessons here in the preseason, and we'll see what happens.
Well, if it translates, they have tons of talent. But when talent meets experience, you win championships, right?
When talent just meets the field,
it's tough.
It's give or take.
Now let's talk about women's volleyball. Brenda and I took our 2 oldest granddaughters to the game the other night. It was so fun. What
tough match, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's 2 ranked teams. It was big time college volleyball. So fun, and it went to the wire. They lost by 2 in a final set. So national rank, they're 4-1. National ranking 17. They beat Lipscomb, who's a good program, 3-1, but they lost to number 19 Georgia Tech, 3-2. That 5th set was 15-13, so you just go to 15.
Right.
It was back and forth. All the sets were close. It was a great college volleyball environment and a great match with 2 really good teams. BYU's young and getting better. So this is a young team, and that young team, Heather's a great coach. And as they roll into the season, they're just going to get better and better. This week, they're at San Diego, Thursday at 8 Mountain Time. That's going to be on ESPN+. And then versus number 10, Oregon, Friday at 8 p.m. Mountain Time on ESPN+.
So they pick up a couple of games in San Diego. Yep. And then they get ready for conference play here coming up shortly. Cross country, the BYU women are ranked 6th. This week they're in the Autumn Classic, which is Friday in Orem. The men are also in that event. The BYU men are ranked number 2.
Of course they are. And of course the women are ranked number 6. Yeah. And they're probably underrated.
That's how they roll. For the latest headlines about BYU sports, visit cougfan.com as part of our relationship with the Deseret News, which we love. Cougars in the NFL. Let's talk about that. Here's the cool thing: is there's football almost every night now.
Oh, don't you love it?
Like tomorrow's Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then it's back Thursday.
It's back Thursday.
Like a friend who's come in and
providing dinner. Isn't there some league, an FCS league that plays on Wednesday nights? I think
I think MAC should. The MAC moves to Wednesday night at some point, and then we just get it all the time.
Let's start with next Sunday, week 2 in the NFL. Raiders at the Ravens. Kyle Van Noy's Ravens.
He broke his orbital bone, and we're not sure how long he's going to be out. Yeah. I don't even know how you break your orbital bone with a football helmet on
and a face mask.
And
Kyle usually wears a shield, doesn't he? I don't know.
But we wish him a speedy recovery.
We love Kyle. Then the 49ers with Fred Warner at the Vikings.
The Chargers are at the Panthers with Brady Christensen on the Panthers.
Yeah. And then the Saints with Taysom Hill and Jamal Williams at the Cowboys. Captain Taysom Hill, by the way.
He had like 45 yards rushing. And Jamal had a touchdown.
Yeah.
That'll be a good game because the Cowboys looked pretty good too when they went over there to the Browns. The Giants are at the Commanders with Michael Davis.
Yeah, and then the Colts with Blake Freeland at left tackle against the Packers. Zane Anderson on that Packers squad.
Rams are at the Cardinals. Puka hurt his knee last night. Not sure what his deal is going to be.
I don't know. And they're usually pretty forthcoming. They acted like it wasn't as serious as maybe we thought. Remember he tried to go back in.
Yeah. Then he was out.
Then he went and they took him out.
Tyrus Tonga, the Cardinals.
Hope he's okay. Yeah. Steelers at the Broncos with Zach Wilson.
I'm ready for Zach to come in.
Nick's threw some picks. He looked like a rookie. Let's get Zach in.
Get some. How many games can you lose? I know he's your future, but it's also it's hard when it's your future and you're charging so much for seats.
That's right.
It's like I always thought while the Jazz were rebuilding, if you want to keep the fans loyal, say, hey, while we rebuild, we're going to lower your prices.
Yeah,
but instead those go up, and then you come. Well, I don't know if I want to pay for that.
And then
come on, Broncos.
Then NFL record holder Ryan Rico.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs.
How about that?
Or the Bengals are at the Chiefs with Andy Reid.
Kingsley Suamatia, who played good the other night.
In his first game ever in the NFL, he set the longest punt in the history of the NFL record and the highest single game average in the history of the NFL in his very first NFL game. He averaged 64 yards a punt and he hit one 80 yards.
How do you think Lee Johnson feels when finally another BYU punter comes in and just sets him to the side?
That's crazy.
It's Rico time. Monday Night Football next week. Tyler Algier and the Falcons are playing at Philadelphia.
Yeah, there you go. And Tyler, he didn't carry the ball much, but when he did, he was effective. They need to give him the ball. I want him to go someplace else where he can be the feature guy.
I don't love the way they got it. And as a fantasy football owner, you hate it.
There's plenty of teams that could use a feature back like Tyler Algier. Yeah. And the Falcons are hogging good guys.
Let's roll out of here with On This Day, September 9th.
Starting 1776. That seems like a pretty important year in my mind.
That was a big one.
Congress officially renames the country the United States of America from the United Colonies.
That was on this day, way back then.
1776.
On this day in 1850, California is admitted as the 31st state of the Union, with a caveat that they would have Disneyland.
Yeah, they had to have Disneyland.
That's the only way we'd let them in.
Also in 1850, Utah and New Mexico territories were created. And, who knows where this show would originate from without that? Like, where would it be?
Where would we be?
We'd be in the territory of Utah? I don't know where we would be.
I don't know. We might be in Kansas.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're here. 1956, Elvis makes his debut on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Did they just film him from the waist up?
I don't know.
I think they were pretty concerned.
They might have.
Pretty concerned about having him on.
They had a lot of standards on that show.
How about 1960? The first American League football game is held. The Broncos beat the Patriots 13-10. The AFL and NFL wouldn't merge until 67. So 7 years it was separate.
This is the first, AFC game.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it was the AFL back then.
Yeah. So then they became the NFL. That's 67's the last time that Frank Gifford was in the 10 touchdown catches, passes, right. And now Taysom Hill's the only one with that record since then. In 1972 on this day, the Soviet Union beat the United States 51-50 in the most controversial game in international basketball history. The U.S. led 50-49. The final 3 seconds were replayed 3 times until the Soviets finally won.
Yeah, there you go.
1972. That was a tough year, 1972.
Yeah, the Soviets cheated. 1987. Larry Bird begins the NBA free throw streak of 59 in a row.
Started
on this
tonight.
Day, 1987.
Hey, Winnipesaukee, good to have Alan and Marcy with us.
If you guys don't check in, by the way, Alan, we are disappointed because we like to read the word Winnipesaukee, and we always like you and Marcy listening in with us. Yeah.
On this day in 2021, Tom Brady became the first player in NFL history to start 300 regular season games. Okay, so I just happened to be at home when the Cowboys game started yesterday, which was Tom Brady's debut. And I listened a little bit, and I thought, you know what? It's fine. I like the other guy, too. It wasn't like, oh, my gosh, this is the best ever. And they kind of set it up like it was going to be, which was unfortunate to him. Because as you know, as a football analyst, that is much harder than playing quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not playing quarterback unless you're good enough. You got the arm and all that stuff. But an analyst is everything. And I thought, you know what? He'll be fine. But
So far, he's no Tony Romo.
You don't knock it out of the park.
Right, he's no Tony Romo.
Tony Romo is much more enjoyable to me, but he'll loosen up. And I thought you just have to start. But they started with all the fanfare and made it a little challenging for them.
And when the expectations are this high, that's what happens. So
September 9th, birthdays.
1820. Leo Tolstoy, the Russian writer, War and Peace, is born on this day.
Do you think more people know him from that or from the skit on Seinfeld?
Oh, probably from the skit.
I think you're probably
Tolstoy
right.
from the Seinfeld skit. Absolutely.
1890 on this day, Colonel Sanders was born, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Who had more impact on the world?
Wow.
Tolstoy or Colonel Sanders?
I'll go with chicken.
I think so too. So how about 1918? Jimmy the Greek Snyder. Remember him growing up on NFL Today? He's the pioneer of the betting in sports coverage of betting.
He was the first guy really that
they talked about.
They came in to talk about it because it was so like you don't talk about it.
Jimmy
the
the
Greek started talking about it. On this day in 1924, Russell M. Nelson, the 17th president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, was born.
100. That's really unbelievable.
Think of all the things he's seen. 100 years old.
Have you ever seen, heard a 100-year-old that like on top of things?
No.
Smart, witty, quick, physically capable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he is a walking miracle and had much to do with the development of the artificial heart.
Yeah.
Way back when, but leader of the church.
Yep, great cardiovascular surgeon. 1966. On this day, Adam Sandler is born.
1975, Michael Bublé.
I love Michael Bublé.
Even though I'm sure
Just haven't met you
people
yet.
call him Bubble,
Yeah.
Bublé.
Hey, and by the way, let's see. Is Brenda's birthday between now and our next show? We better shout out to her. Yeah, it's the 14th. What's next Monday? It'll be too late. It'll be too late to celebrate
Saturday.
on the 16th.
It's
So
Saturday.
Brenda's birthday is Saturday. So everybody
She should come enjoy the pregame show.
shout out to Brenda because we're not going to have a show on her birthday, but it's September 14th is Brenda's birthday.
On September 9th, these are a couple of notable deaths. 1997, Burgess Meredith, Mick from Rocky. He was also the Penguin from
he was
the
great.
Batman TV series.
Great for both of those roles.
And then just before we came over to the show, we learned that James Earl Jones passed away today. The great voice of Darth Vader and Mufasa.
My favorite thing is his Field of Dreams.
Yeah, when he was the writer.
If you build it, people will come, Ray.
Yeah.
The memories will be so strong they'll have to brush them away from in front of their face. He was amazing.
The Star Wars Darth Vader stuff will go on with his voice because they can just do it now with the computer. Yeah. But he was a true talent for sure.
Oh, amazing! So
our Wise Guys inspirational quote of the week is from President Nelson celebrating his 100th birthday.
Yeah, we could have picked hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of quotes, but. Here we go. My dear brothers and sisters, the joy we feel has little to do with the circumstances of our lives and everything to do with the focus of our lives.
That caps his life to a T, I think.
And you know who I think lives by that very thing? That's our guest today, Derwin Gray.
Yeah.
Amazing. So thanks to Derwin for being on. Jennifer Wise, our BYU alumni rep.
She wasn't quite ready for keys to the game, but I thought she
managed it. We caught her by surprise, and she did just fine.
Next week, Hall of Fame quarterback Gifford Nielsen will be here with us. We're looking forward to that.
Yeah, he's going to give us some stories not only from his time in the NFL and at BYU, but some from maybe West Africa as well.
Yeah, he just got back after a 3-year assignment, I think. And he is excited to come on this show.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
And anyone who answers back with exclamation points, is ready.
That's right.
Ready for the Wise Guys.
Don't forget to join us for After Further Review tomorrow. It will be available at 5 p.m. Mountain Time on the BYU TV app and ESPN+.
And game day Saturday, we'll see at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, BYU TV and ESPN+, 2 hours right up to kickoff of BYU and Wyoming, and then live post-game show right after it. So we've got a big weekend ahead as the Cougars try to get to 3-0 on the season. And the only thing better than being 3-0 is being 4-0. But you can't get to 4 if you don't get to 3.
And I feel like if they make some steps forward, I'm feeling a little bullish about 4-0. There you have it. So.
You know what? If they can get through Saturday night, the next Saturday night is late
Oh,
Kansas State's
anything.
here. BYU will be big underdogs.
The Rock will be in prime form.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
It's going to be great. Wise Guys is presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News. Look for our podcast out tomorrow, wherever you get your podcasts. And please tell your friends about us and go to our YouTube page. Hit the subscribe button. It's all free. It just helps us grow the show. Thanks for the Texas shirts.
We wore it proud
Our
tonight.
friends down there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. BYU went there. 10,000 fans showed up. They got out of there with a win. And the caravan now shifts to Laramie, Wyoming, which, by the way, we had a guy, I think it was Evan, on our live stream from Laramie tonight getting ready for the game.
I love it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See y'all.
See ya.